It's here, Algebra 2, on section 1.7, the last section in chapter 1, talking about absolute value equations and inequalities. The thing about absolute values, we think it's always positive. Well, kind of. We're talking about numbers where you put in here and you get a positive answer. So in this situation, the absolute value of x equals 5 actually has two results, x equals 5 and x equals negative 5. That happens a lot for absolute values. You have two answers. So when you look at something like this, the thing that you'll hear me say a lot is drop bars and add plus or minus. And so that's a good rule to follow when you're mechanically doing these problems. So you get an equation like this, be a test question or something. We could go through and show the steps. The first is you subtract 8 from both sides, and then you go ahead and divide by 3 on both sides. You get something like this. When you get down to just the absolute value bars equal something, this is where this little note will come in where you drop bars and add plus or minus. So we go ahead and do that. When we drop bars and add plus or minus, it's really going to convert it into two separate equations. We're going to use the word and because they're both applicable. It's going to be one thing and the other. We add 5, divide by 2, and solve each of these, and we get two answers, and they're both possible answers for our problem. We should really plug them in to check them, and we'll show you that in a minute here. When we're dealing with this vocabulary term called extraneous solutions, really talking about things that actually might not work sometimes. So when we get this kind of result, we're going to go through and mechanically do the same thing. We're going to drop bars, add plus or minus. That's kind of the note that we're relying on to solve these. So as we go through this, we'll split it into two problems. Again, we're using the word and because both of these are possible solutions. We will combine the x's and divide, and we get two results. Now, in this case, we really should be checking our answers. Number one, because it says this thing extraneous where they may not work. Number two, it's good practice anyway. So we should check our answers to see how we do this. So we're going to go through and just continue on. We're just going to take these two answers that we found, and we're just going to plug them in for x and see if they work. So I'm plugging in, substituting into parentheses here, kind of see them both going on. As we kind of go through, I'll keep doing the same thing, multiplying, adding, subtracting, whatever it takes to simplify these results. And what you see here is you have 20 equals 20, meaning this is a solution. That works. X equals 4 works. Whereas here, you get a false statement. 5 does not equal negative 5, which means negative 1 is not an answer. So at the end of this problem, we just say x equals 4. That's our final answer to this problem. For inequalities, it works kind of the same. So we're going to go through and kind of deal with your inequalities here. Again, drop bars, add plus or minus. We'll split it into two and kind of go there. In this case, we're going to have an or statement because a number can't be greater than 5 and also less than negative 5. So we're going to use the word or for that one. Over here, again, drop the bars, add plus or minus, kind of go here. On this one, we're going to use the word and. You can visually see that if a number is in here, like say 1, that it is less than 5 and greater than negative 5. So the word and here is used when both can happen. The word or is used when only one or the other can happen. When we do a more complicated example, it works the same way. We'll subtract 2. And in this case, multiply by 2. We get to this spot where our note comes back into play, where we drop bars and add plus or minus. That step to there is the biggest part of these notes. Split it into 2, solve each one of them out. We get a couple of answers here. It'd be easily graphed. In this case, you'd use the word or to knock these out because they go opposite ways for the arrows. Greater than 8 or less than negative 11/3. These are things you'd be able to do in this particular note set. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.